Okay.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for Monday, May the 9th. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Marty Nutter to come to the podium for the invocation and the pledge. Please stand.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. O Lord God, as we gather in this hour, fill each one of us with your presence. Fill us with truth, and in truth, fill us with your peace. Where we are in error, reform us. Where we are in need, supply us. Where we are right, strengthen and confirm us. Where we are torn apart, heal our divisions. Give us ears to hear, hearts to understand, words that build and hands that serve you and serve this great community that we love. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Nutter. This time I'd like the city recorder to please do the roll call.
Yes, Mayor Noes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Here.
Alderperson Almacher.
Here.
Barry.
Here.
Blackwell. Here. Dunn. McGee.
Here.
I understand Alderman Dunn is on her way in, but currently 6 present.
Very good. Thank you. At this time, we have a special presentation this morning, or this evening, the annual school budget presentation. Dr. Christine Stevens of the City Schools and Jason Ray, and anyone else that she would like to have present.
Oh,
Dr.
yes,
Stevens.
I would like them all to present. And, I'll take the lead for now. Thankful to our board chair, Kim Usselton, for being with us this evening as well. And thank you for welcoming me back for this annual presentation. Before I begin on the proposed budget for 22-23, I'd first of all like to thank everyone, our families, our students, you all, our community for helping make this year a successful year, another year of COVID and unique challenges. And we certainly have navigated that time very well. And we started the year August 2nd, and in 4 days, our class of 2022 will walk across the stage as THS and TVA graduates. In 11 days, the remaining students will exit into their summer months. So it is amazing that we are on the downhill ride to the end of the school year. As you know, this year we returned to in-person learning fully, and we did open an 8th school. This school has its own number, Tullahoma Virtual Academy, serving 9th through 12th grade students. We had about 50 students this school year in our new school. 21 of them were full-time, 29 of them were flex. Flex means they were at Tullahoma High School and they had some courses at TVA. They were in what's called virtual program, not virtual school. We had about 21 in virtual school, meaning their entire school year was at TVA. This year we will have 7 seniors graduating from TVA, and they will also join our THS graduates as they walk across the stage on Friday evening. As we plan for next year, so far, we have 70 students interested in enrolling in TVA, 50 of them being full-time and 20 part-time. That's as of today. We added a communication specialist this year, and it has been thrilling to see our story be told quite frequently by the talented writer and communication specialist that we have in Zach Birdsong. Very pleased with that. We expanded Little Cats. So we opened Little Cats Daycare in the first year of COVID, which was stunning, and it was very successful. And we expanded. So we went from 8 infants, which is 6 weeks to 18 months, to now serving 13. We went from serving 8 toddlers, and it's in our first year, that's 18 months to 36 months, to 16. That is a lot of littles. And as we plan for next year, we have 28 of 29 spots already filled. We have 1 toddler spot, last I checked, that is available. This year, we finalized and adopted the 5-year strategic plan. That was very exciting. It's been a lengthy process. COVID certainly impacted the ability for that to get done in a quick way, but we are very proud of it, and thank you for your involvement. Several of you have been involved in participating and providing us feedback. We have 3 priorities within this 5-year plan. Virtual programming is one priority, school to work pathways is another, and then of course facilities. So we're excited about the focus this will bring to our work. Other highlights from this year: we earned our 2nd Tennessee Certified Pathway in CAD. Mr. Edwards leads the charge there in that CTE program. We're very proud of that. We're one of 61 high schools across the state of Tennessee that earned that certification. We are one of 9 schools in Tennessee to earn the Tennessee Purple Star School Award for our commitment to and friendliness toward military students and their families. So that's very exciting. Some of the accomplishments from the budget, this current year's budget. We replaced carpet at East Middle School. We finished putting window laminate installation for safety and security to the 4 schools that did not yet have it, or 4 locations. That was the high school, both middle schools, and the CSS building. New bleachers at the EMS softball field were put in, and sidewalks for ADA compliance. Our track issue at the high school has been repaired and resolved, and the track resurfaced. The parking lot resealing was completed at East Middle and East Lincoln. We painted the exterior of the central office building, and as you can imagine, many other projects have occurred over the course of this year. Some projects that we're excited about that are upcoming. We have 4 major projects coming to Bel Air. We will have a roof replacement, HVAC replacement, ceiling tile replacement, and a lighting upgrade. All of that is slated to start this summer. The tennis courts at the high school will be redone. This project was just approved at the last school board meeting and is one that has been in the works for quite some time, so I am really excited about that. It's also slated to start this summer. We'll be in the very same place that the tennis courts currently are. A couple of other large projects coming: HVAC replacement at East Middle, roof replacement at the high school. Obviously, we are very excited about our Farrah rebuild project. We have met with the engineering firm and architect. We've offered feedback to the first set of drawings, so we await another rendering set. So this process is going a little slower than we would have liked, but we are being patient and going through the process as it would be. Now I would like to point you to your handout. I want to talk a little bit about the 22-23 proposed budget. The first thing that you'll see on your handout is you'll see how our proposed budget of $37,300,000 is split. So I think it's important that everybody understand what are the revenue sources that create this budget. And this was something I reviewed last year. I think it'd be helpful to review each year. So our revenue comes from several locations. The largest revenue we have comes from the state BEP dollars. Now remember, this upcoming year is the last year for the BEP dollars. So this year, 56% of our budget comes from those state BEP dollars. 17% comes from county taxes, 13% from city appropriations, 13% from city sales tax. So that's a total of 26% from the city. Less than 1% are from federal funds in our general purpose budget, and less than 1% comes from tuition. I always think that's just a helpful review, how our budget comes to be in terms of revenue. Some highlights for this proposed budget that I'd like to share with you. A couple of positions. Number one, we are adding in this budget a full-time athletic director position. That was recently approved by our board this last meeting, and I do want you to know that John Olive will be serving in that role. It is a new role. He has served as the athletic director in conjunction with 2 other major roles that he has played as an employee. Going forward, effective June 1st, he will be a full-time athletic director, which is a year-round position, as our athletic events, practices, tryouts, etc. happens all year long. Additionally, We moved our middle school sports from club sports to the Tennessee Middle School Sports Association. So TSSAA is for our high school age sports, TMSAA is for middle school. In light of that, there is a need for a part-time bookkeeper who will be working with all athletics at the middle and high school level. So this person will be working very closely with our school bookkeepers, but it will be all connected to athletics. So those are two new positions to the proposed budget. We have one salary coming back to the general purpose budget with this proposed budget. That's the TVA director. When TVA opened, we opened under Tennessee Innovation Grant dollars. We were one of 21 high schools in the state of Tennessee that were awarded that innovation grant. So Dr. English's salary and benefits were a part of that grant. So that is coming back to general purpose. So although not a new position, it will be a position that is in this proposed budget. Within this proposed budget, we have 2 replacement buses. Those will be replacing buses that have exceeded the mileage limit, the threshold that is set for public school settings, and that is 200,000 miles, in case you wanted to know that. We are going to have some student device replacements within this proposed budget. Those are for devices that have reached end of life, which is typically 5 years. We are going to be returning utility-related line items like electric, water, sewer, and natural gas to previous funded levels due to energy cost increases. Within this proposed budget, we anticipate a step raise as well as a 5% cost of living increase. The step raise, of course, is for all employees who have not yet reached the maximum step. As we compare this current budget to next year's budget, there is a 6.5% increase in the budget. This increase is revenue driven, and as you know, we have to have a balanced budget going forward. We do have capital projects within next year's budget. Of course, you know that the tennis courts and the roof replacement are happening this summer. Those will obviously then pay out in next year's budget. We have the replacement of the HVAC at East Middle School. We may be replacing the high school gym floor within the budget. We have the high school parking lots being resealed and striped, and we have potential restroom upgrades happening at Bel Air and the high school. A couple of those projects are contingent on how things unfold throughout the year and what some of the other project costs turn out to be. It's important to note, in this proposed budget, we are working with our very first BEP estimate, which we got last week. So we have 2 more estimates that will come. Another one will come near the end of May, and then the final one will come in June. So this proposed budget is not in its final state, but this gives you a healthy idea of what is included in it. All right? So I'm going to invite Mr. Ray forward. What questions? And let me say this because I know Alderman Berry is going to ask this, so I'm going to answer it. There is no request for the city anything different in this year's 22-23 budget. All right? What questions
Thank you,
or
Dr.
comments?
Stevens. Did you indicate you were willing to accept questions?
Yes.
Any questions from the board? Alderman Berry.
I actually wasn't going to ask that, but did I hear you say this is the last year for the BEP?
That's right. So you paid attention, the legislative session passed the new student funding model, TISA, T-I-S-A. That goes into effect the next year, fiscal year 24.
So you're not losing 56% of your budget. That's going to be replaced.
No, and
Okay.
from what we hear, and we are cautiously optimistic, we will see an increase in dollars. That's the intent of TISA and the way the model is designed. According to Governor Lee, there's $1 billion more dollars being put into public schools through this model. So systems should see an increase in dollars from the state. Cautiously optimistic, and I'm very honored to be a part of a group that will be convening next week to start looking at some business rules related to TISA.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I want to thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate being here. Thank you all.
Thank you. At this time, I've asked our city administrator, Ms. Moody, to give us a preview of our budget presentation that she'll be giving today.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could bring forward my presentation for the producer to do that. Make sure my slides on. All right, and I appreciate you letting me go ahead with the presentation tonight. Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. As in years past, tonight I'm going to do this presentation in two parts. First, talking about our forecasted revenues and how we anticipate closing out this year. And then second, we'll look at our budget priorities going into the next 12 months. Thank you. So first, we'll review our budget goals. Each year, it is our strategic objective to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible, responsive, and an effective government. We want to support having a vibrant and diverse economy and providing a safe, sustainable, and healthy community. And as of right now, our proposed budget is balanced. I thank Ms. Wilson for that. We put a lot of time and work into that. And our budget will also be passed in compliance with all the city's policies, including our debt and fund balance policies. So similar to the city schools, I like to start with looking at our major sources of funds. You know that most of our revenue comes from two sources, the largest being our local sales tax, the money that's generated here in our community. That's at 41%. And then the second largest being our property taxes and tax equivalents. Those are at 39%. We can see a lot of our success. You'll see in a later slide the efforts that have put into our commercial developments and retail recruitment that have allowed that sales tax to grow larger than our property tax. I want to show you where last year and where we're ending up year to date. So last year, we knew we had the new census. We'd grown in population. We were still being cautious, I think, and very conservative in our revenue estimates. We showed a 1% growth in our property tax rate, which is about half of what our historic trend has been. So this year, we're looking to put that back to a 2% growth rate. This year will be different in that we have a 5-year reappraisal cycle in Franklin County, a 4-year reappraisal cycle in Coffee, and both are occurring right now in 2022. So we will be watching to see what that new state equalized rate looks like, but we know that we will not be allowed to bring in more tax dollars based on increases in assessed value. So that rate is likely going to be lower. But we also know, just drive around town, we have a lot of construction going on. We know that we have new construction, and we've also had additions of square footage through remodels that are adding to our tax base. And so we do get to fully realize that growth. So that's where the 2% comes in. Last year, again, we were coming off of a double-digit year-over-year increase, and we wanted to be conservative. We kept our estimate, our forecast at 6%. We're currently running a year-to-date 9% year-over-year increase. So we'd like to keep sales tax forecasted at 6% again for next year. Hotel motel tax, as you know, we knew it would bounce back, and it has. We estimated 8%. It's actually back over 12%. We want to keep it at a reasonable 10% expectation for next year. Business taxes are looking back to pre-COVID expectations. We don't fully have all our collections in because they come in late in the budget year, but we're looking at 8% as a forecast for next year. Same with licenses and permits. And then I just wanted to mention there's two things that are on the revenue side of the budget that are a little bit different. The last 2 budget years, we've received governor local support grant money. That was not included in the governor's budget this year, and so we won't have that grant, but we have lots of other sources of grant funds. And then the hall income tax, you've heard about it for years. It's been being phased out. This is the first budget year where it's down to 0. There will be no revenue. And that was about a $200,000 revenue source for the city. Okay. Just a little more about property tax. I will remind you, property tax growth, while it remains flat, we do get to receive increases as a result of new construction and remodels. This year, we have seen significant commercial construction, and we expect that'll enhance our tax base and bring new revenue to the city. We hear that we'll soon be able to announce the name of the new business that's acquired the industrial building, formerly home to UTC Goodrich, and bringing about 100 new jobs to our area. We also should see both property and significant sales tax growth from ongoing redevelopment and infill at the Northgate Mall. As you know, they're soon to be adding Marshalls and Ulta as tenants. Similarly, we see the new Highway 55 Burgers and Fries about to open, and 2 new fueling stations are under construction right at the foot of the viaduct. Also excited to share with you, Ross will be backfilling the former Peebles space, and a new 4-story hotel should be breaking ground this year, and that'll be located behind our Aldi. These investments and the new developments that are occurring are what allow the city operations to keep absorbing the rising costs without an increase in our property tax rate. The city of Tullahoma has only raised its tax rate twice since 1987, and for the 9th year in a row, no property tax rate adjustment is being recommended tonight. A little bit more on our sales tax, just wanted you to see the growth. You know, back in 2018, property tax collected dollars were still larger than sales tax, but very quickly, we've just had tremendous growth rate, and you can see our growth rate, even through the pandemic, has been incredible. This has really helped to facilitate some of the investments that I know are important to you all to make, and so just wanted to touch on that again for a minute. We're still going to use what we think 6% is an incredible number. Many communities wish they could forecast something like 6%, but for us, I do think that is a conservative number. So we're blessed with that. And then again, let's jump into our budget priorities. As you know, forecasted revenues are important because we must pass a balanced budget. Whatever we forecast our revenues to be, we can only forecast expenditures to be equal to that amount. So our priorities this year, I think first and foremost, this has had to be on your minds as you're looking at the news or just going through your life and buying groceries and gas and things like that. We have to first respond to the external economic and labor forces that are having a significant impact on our city staff and their families and affecting our ability to recruit and retain the individuals that work hard for us. So the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, it's increasing at rates not seen since 1981. CPI as of March 2022 was up 8.5%. Gas prices are up 18%, and food is up 8%. As a result, employers in our area and beyond are looking at unprecedented large cost of living adjustments to their pay plans. Similarly, in this proposed budget, I'm recommending a 5% cost of living for both full and part-time employees. And I think for us, that sounds a little more conservative than what I'm seeing others do, but this board, and I thank you so much for your support, and the employees thank you for that support. We have made measured but sizable adjustments every year, and when you make incremental increases year after year, you don't usually have to have a major adjustment later. And so I think we're benefiting from that this year. This gives me a good opportunity to talk about our competitive employee compensation. So along with this increase this year, I'm also just wanted to say that we are looking at fully funding a compensation study in this next 12 months. Some of you might remember the pay plan that we currently operate under was adopted in 2016. Best practices recommend that you update your pay plan every 5 years. Now, we have conducted in 2020 what was called a market analysis, where we looked at 20 positions, one in each of the pay grades, and we just kind of took a benchmark. How are we doing? When we did that, the report was good. We were on track, and they recommended that I continue giving 3 to 3.5% cost of living adjustments to stay on market. Now, what happened right after we got that report in January or February of 2020? The pandemic and all of this volatility in the labor market and all the changes. So we have delayed, but we're still only about 6 years off from needing a full compensation study. So I feel like we're right on track if we do it this next 12 months to make sure that we don't get ourselves into a position where we're losing highly valued, talented employees because their pay is not competitive. So I just wanted you to know we'll be doing that in this budget. And then while I have the opportunity, I do want to put this out there and remind you when you're talking to people about our jobs, because we always have job openings and opportunities, we do pay 100% of the employee's costs to participate in the health plan. Family coverage is currently only $310 per month for families on our plan. And we have successfully really generated savings to the plan that have benefited employees where we have not had to make large year-to-year either changes in plan design or increase their cost of participating in the health plan. And so again, this year, we are not anticipating any significant increases in any of our health benefits, and we're not suggesting any significant changes to the plan design. Okay, so I want to show you, we have in this budget, we are looking at a 2% total increase over last year's adopted budget. And I think in this environment, it's really a testament to both the responsible requests that we got in from departments and the work of our finance director that we've been able to keep our cost increases down to 2%. That includes all of the compensation adjustments, a 7% increase in what we're looking to fund for our health plan, and that's just accounting for rising costs of claims. So we are self-funded, we pay our own claims, and that will go into our fund to pay those claims. Then the next part you see is department requests, and I've broken them into personnel costs, operating expenses, equipment and vehicle replacements. So in total, they requested $1.8 million. In those three categories, we're going to be able to fund at this point $800,000 of that $1.8 million. And so for a total increase of about 2% or $1.5 million. Okay? And then what can we look forward to in these next 12 months? Some of the really visible large capital projects. I just wanted to remind you, we've talked a lot about these, but the American Rescue Plan projects will be moving forward. We have an exciting downtown improvement project where we're going to upgrade the signalized intersections at Lauderdale, Lincoln, and Grundy Street with TUA. We're continuing to fund our 15-year ADA transition plan, which helps us improve accessibility all across the city of Tullahoma. And then we will be adopting a 5-year capital improvement plan. Some of the major projects, again, the investment projects from the rescue plan. Sidewalks will be constructed on Avoca Road and Kings Lane area. We have been awarded a Tdot grant to do a corridor study of Cedar Lane. I wanted to make sure you knew about that. We haven't received the state's grant contract yet. It'll be coming up on a future agenda. But I wanted you to know this is the first step in us starting the process of securing funding to widen Cedar Lane. So it's a very exciting step. I mentioned the TUA project again. We have in this proposed budget that we'll bring to you $450,000 for city paving and roadway repairs. We'll be fixing Wagner Street. That's that community development block grant project that you're aware of. We'll complete Fire Station number 2 addition, which is currently under construction. We'll do some renovations at the Baltz Historical Building, primarily to make it more accessible, repairing that ramp that you see in the front and doing some exterior painting. We'll repair the CD Stamps gym floor, and I hope that we will be beginning the process of making some significant repairs to the municipal building. And then last, I wanted to mention to you, we did include in this budget some money for travel. With the announcement and recognition that we are a great American defense community, there will be a reception planned for us in Phoenix, and I'm hoping that many of us will be able to attend that. And throughout this year, I know the TAEDC and myself and you all will be working on ways that we can promote and recognize this great honor throughout the community. Okay, last, just want to remind you of the budget adoption schedule. We had initially planned to have the budget adopted all on regularly scheduled meetings. The part that we do not control is when we will receive the state certified tax rate. And so there's a high likelihood, right now we're hearing that the rate may not be known until May 20th or later. So we think it's highly likely we're not going to have the rate in time to give you the budget on May 23rd. Instead, May 23rd, I will likely have on consent, ask your approval to set a special called meeting for Monday, June 6th. And we hope to have the first reading of the budget that night. That'll keep us on track with the advertising notices and the time between readings to still have our budget adopted by June 30th. The worst case scenario, if for some reason those dates, we don't get the rate until later, there is an opportunity where we may need to pass a continuing resolution for a month. And I think that that's happened once or twice in the past until we know the rate and can get the budget adopted. So that is an option of last resort. Hopefully we'll have what we need and get it adopted either on the 23rd or June 6th. And then last but not least, I really want to thank the staff, the mayor, the board of mayor and aldermen, the city leadership team, Sue Wilson and Donna Graham, who do a lot of the compiling of spreadsheets and requests and make this process easier and easier every year for me. Thank Costa Bryce, our HR director, that takes on the personnel requests and helps develop what those forecasted costs are. John Glass with the Tullahoma Airport, Winston Brooks with TAEDC, Dr. Stevens and Jason Ray with our Tullahoma City Schools. It's an honor and a privilege to work with all of them, and look forward to working with you all through this FY23 budget. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Moody. You will take questions then. I see no questions, but I would ask that you share your slides with each of the board members.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to get approval of the agenda. The agenda has been distributed earlier, and if there are no objections to what's on the agenda,
I would like to make a motion to postpone one of the items, Mr. Mayor.
well, first we'll have to get approval of the agenda. We'll get a motion to approve the agenda. Then if there's an amendment, we'll take that in order. First, I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda. Alderman Blackwell.
Move to approve.
Move to approve and
Second.
seconded by Blanks.
Mayor,
Yes.
I apologize. This is very unusual, but I have a timely request to ask that you add an item that would increase our paving budget for Cedar Lane repairs.
Okay, we have another amendment. First, we'll handle the first amendment that you have, Alderman. We have a motion to approve the agenda with a second. And the discussion is, do you have an amendment?
Yeah, I have a point of order as well. The city administrator cannot make a motion to add anything to the agenda. We have to do that, and I'll be happy to do so right now, but I have I have something else aside from that. So I make a motion to approve the agenda item, or to add the agenda item number 2270.
That'll take care of it. You okay?
I'll second.
Got a second on it? Motion from Hallmarker, seconded by Blackwell. Any discussion on the amendment? We'll ask the city administrator for the background on this amendment.
Will we do that when we get to the vote?
I beg your pardon?
When we, under the regular agenda, when we vote on that item,
Well,
I'd be
that's-
happy to do
That's
that.
correct. We'll pick it up then. Okay. We will add that as a under new business. Okay, let's vote on the amendment. If I can find it. thing to vote with.
No, do it.
Green for yes and red for no.
No, it's different.
That
Okay.
passes 7-0. We do have a seventh member now. Thank you. Okay, we'll add that under new business. Thank you.
Yes, and then I had one other change I would like to request. I would like to make a motion to postpone for future consideration the number 8 under new business, resolution number 1898, adopting a spending plan for the American Rescue Plan Act funds for the fiscal years 22 through 2026. There are multiple items on that. Well, I can't discuss right now, but I would like for consideration to postpone that based on the feedback from the public hearing.
We have a motion to remove resolution 1898.
To postpone for future consideration, I guess I should say.
Have a motion to postpone resolution 1898 for future consideration. Do I hear a second? Seeing no second, motion fails. Sorry. With that, we'll go back to the original agenda motion, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Blackwell? Seconded. Any further discussion?
We already voted on that, right? I mean, we
We
already,
voted on the amendment.
there was already
Now
a
we voted on the
motion.
original motion as amended.
We have a motion on the table that was made by Blackwell and seconded by Blank. The original motion.
And then we amended it,
Amended it,
and we voted on that.
and we voted on that, then
Now
we
we'll
had
go
a,
back to the original.
Now we go back and vote on the original motion as
as
amended.
amended. Okay, original motion as amended, thank you.
All in favor, vote aye. Red for no. And that passes 6-1. Okay, thank you. With that, we'll go to, this time we'll go to the reports from the Aldermen, and we'll start with Alderman Blackwell.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm skipping comments. No, this is later. Comments from citizens.
Okay.
Comments from citizens. Okay. Now then, we'll go to reports from Alderman. We'll start with Alderman Blackwell.
I'm just thankful that the school system was here to present their budget request. I wanted to tell you how much they've appreciated working with Ms. Wilson and Ms. Moody on that the past few months. Their next meeting is next week, so other than that, I don't have anything else to report for the school board. Regarding the downtown council, one of the things that I just wanted to give you all a heads up is that we will be going out to bid soon for the updating of the landscaping in downtown's those planting things. So the words are hard. But so I just wanted to give you all a heads up that that will be going out to bid. I'm hoping soon. Mr. Brooks can give us more information at that time, but that's something that is being put out there as an RFP. So if there are people who want to bid on that locally, they should. Okay, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn.
No report.
No report. Alderman Almacher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Tourism Council, hopefully we'll get to have a meeting in the next couple of weeks. We're currently looking for a representative from Jack Daniels and trying to forge a new relationship there, especially for our Whiskey Trail type things. I'd like to encourage that board to continue to grow, and potentially maybe you should see us. I was looking at the Arts Council, how they set up their board and the members, and I think that the Tourism Council should maybe consider looking at setting up something strategically for representatives from different areas to sit on that board. I think that would be something good going forward. So I hope to talk with Winston Brooks as the TA EDC director about that moving forward. As far as the 911 board, again, from what I hear, AT&T is doing a little bit better. They are still in talks with Ben Lomond about changing, but if you have problems getting in touch with 911, make sure that you keep those emergency numbers on file, and that's all my report.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Mr. Mayor, I had a doctor's appointment, so I missed the TAEDC meeting, but I got a report from Administrator Moody, and they finalized the contract for the pilot program, and stop me if I'm wrong. Very happy with that, the outcome of that, because that contract gives us some leverage that we haven't had before if this group does not do what they say they're going to do. But it's a very exciting $16.9 million, $16-ish million investment into the community over there. So that's very exciting. Wednesday, I had a decision between sports council or attending the South Jackson birthday. I chose, I can only do one or the other and still make it to church. So I chose the South Jackson. We didn't have a planning commission meeting. That's next week. So that is all I've got.
Alderman McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything to report as the meetings that I will be attending, they'll be held next week on the 18th and 19th. And that's all.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a lengthy report tonight since I hadn't had any meetings. Thank the Lord for the pretty weather the last couple of days. We hadn't had any major weather events. We did have some weather last Friday. T-Way is always good about taking care of outages, so kudos to the linemen and the crew that keep the lights on. Be aware of the seniors that are graduating here in the next little bit. We'll have a night, what is it called when they stay? They keep them.
Project graduation.
Project graduation, instead of them being out raising cane, they keep them in the gym, which I think is a good thing. But congratulations to all our graduates on a kindergarten level, middle school level, high school, college, graduate school, etc. This is the time of year that we have a lot of graduations, so congratulations on all of you who have worked hard and the families that have supported them. And one last thing, shop Tullahoma. That's all I have.
Thank you, Alderman Blanks. I would like to remind each of you, all the aldermen, that we do have a cleanup scheduled for Saturday, 8 o'clock at Public Works, which I guess you'll have some equipment there for us. We're looking forward to that. We'll get our assignments there on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I want to thank the Parks and Rec Department and the staff that they assembled for our soapbox derby on Saturday. What a wonderful event for so many young people in the soapbox event. If any of you were out Saturday, I'll remind you it was a raw day. It was cold and it was windy and a little bit of rain, but those kids really enjoyed it, so thanks to all those who made that possible. We also, those of you who were attending on the 29th, we had an Arbor Day. We had a proclamation for Arbor Day, and we have a new tree in town, state championship for willow oak. We called it the Annie Oak Tree. The Queen City Guardian is the new name for a big, big tree. So the service awards to about 25 city employees went on well on last Thursday, and the comprehensive development screening team, the comp plan steering committee met last Friday and will be meeting again this next Friday. So with that, I want to give you some additional information, and that is, as I've said, when I write things down, I don't ramble quite as much, so I'll read you the city administrator evaluation. I'd like to advise the board that the board has completed a performance evaluation of the city administrator, Ms. Jennifer Moody, for the previous year. For the viewing audience, I'll let you know that each of the aldermen were asked to individually complete the evaluation and submit it to Ms. Hunter Rogers at MTAS. That's the Tennessee Municipal Technical Advisory Service. who summarized the responses and returned the summary to me. I have reviewed the summary evaluation with Ms. Moody. The evaluation consisted of 15 objective evaluation factors, which were scored on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. The average scores received was 4.4, with a 4.2, the lowest evaluation factor, and 4.8, the highest evaluation factor. Additionally, there were 4 subjective evaluation factors, and that gave the individual doing the evaluation an opportunity for a written response. Those responses are also included in the summary. Ms. Moody has asked that if any of you have questions, concerns, or comments about the summary evaluations, she would welcome the opportunity to schedule an appointment to discuss them with you. Additionally, at the request of the board, Ms. Moody has provided a copy of her self-evaluation. So with that, I'll pass out to you the copies that I've just described to you. And a copy of the evaluation will go in Ms. Moody's personnel file to Ms. Costa. Okay, with that, we'll go to a report from our city attorney.
I don't have a report tonight.
With that, we'll go to Ms. Moody for our city administrator's report.
Thank you. I'll be brief tonight. I just wanted to share 2 items. One is Wright Paving should be starting our spring paving projects this week, so you should see them around town starting their milling work. And then Chief Williams and I participated in a meeting with the Child Advocacy Center Director, Joyce Prusak. And thank you, Alderman Dunn, for putting that together. It was my first opportunity to meet with her and talk about child abuse and just trends and concerning things that she sees in the community, and just an opportunity to build a stronger partnership and communication type of relationship between her on the social work side of things and what she's seeing working with victims, and what our officers in our police department are seeing on their side. And it was very enlightening to me. Sometimes what they're seeing are 2 different stories, and we want to do a better job of kind of building a bridge so we see the complete picture. But I just wanted to share that, and that we are working together on maybe some training programs or public education that we can do in the community, and also maybe with city employees, especially Parks and Recreation, where they're working more with children and maybe have an opportunity to make a difference in some lives. That's my report tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. With that, we'll move into the consent agenda. And I want to remind you that the consent agenda has already been approved when we approved the agenda. So I'll just read the captions. Item number 2265, minutes from the April 25th meeting. 2266, to approve the annual Tdot maintenance contract. 2267, to set a public hearing for the first reading of May 23rd, 2022 for rezone a parcel on 200 block of Ledford Mill Road from general commercial C2 to high density residential. And item 2268, to set a public hearing for May 23rd, 2022 on a request for annexation on a plan of service for 95 Old Voca Lake Road. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Alderman Blackwell.
Motion to approve.
And second is Alderman McGee. Any questions? No questions. All in favor, vote green. Red for no. Consent agenda is approved 7-0. Moving into unfinished business. Ordinance number 1575, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Tullahoma, which is an ordinance number 1392, by amending the Article 5, General Provisions, Section 505, landscaping requirements on the second and final reading. Your motion. Motion Blackwell.
Move to approve.
Seconded. Sarah Blanks. Any discussion on the ordinance change?
I have a question.
Yes.
On this ordinance, I was talking to one of my colleagues, and I was talking about stuff that's planted on your property that has city right-of-way. And Mrs. Saramago may be able to, is she here? Yes.
She is here.
I butchered your name, I apologize.
It's fine.
If they plant, say, if something's planted by the city or whatever, is it the property owners, if it's on the city right-of-way, is it the property owner's responsibility to take care of that if something happens to it or if it dies?
Mary Samaniego. No, any right-of-way that, any property, any landscaping that is in a public right-of-way is the responsibility of the city to maintain per this current code.
So Alderman Berry removed that last time, that language?
Yes, he did.
Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
So Alderman Blackwell, Alderman, excuse me, Alderman Allmarker, excuse me.
Yeah, so I also have a question about this. So for example, existing buildings and site structures that there is no grassy area currently, there is only pavement. I mean, what is the, where is that addressed in here? And I may have just skipped over it. Obviously, they're not gonna be ripping up pavement or concrete to put in trees. So where do we?
Yes, thank you. It is on, that was not in the current code, but I've addressed it in this revision. It's in subsection 8, where it says, street trees are not required as determined by the senior planner, which is myself, in instances where there is not sufficient space in the public right-of-way or within the site due to the location of existing buildings and required parking spaces.
But see, that doesn't necessarily cover what I'm talking about. What if they have plenty of room, but there's plenty of site, but there's already concrete or asphalt where you would normally want a tree?
So there would have to be enough space where it is in the right-of-way, but not sidewalk, curb, and then it doesn't take up any drive aisle or parking spaces.
Now, okay, let me give you an example. 220 West Lincoln Street. And the reason I ask this is, I mean, there's where the soapbox derby was at.
Right.
So you go down the hill, there in the Dollar General, obviously there is some landscaping. There is sidewalk in front of the discount flooring store, and then there is parking spaces in front of it that aren't currently used because we have that parking lot next to it.
Right.
But there is no grassy area.
Right.
It is pavement to the road.
Right.
So there's no possible way for you to plant anything.
Correct.
So is this going to, what I'm saying is, what's going to happen here, just thinking ahead, is we're going to incentivize either people to pave to the road, or, I mean, are you going to expect people to take up pavement or plant potted plants, or, I mean, what's the expectation here?
So the expectation would be, the first thing I would look at is the applicability section. So the applicability, as it's currently written, that's before you tonight, only applies for new construction or renovation over 500 square feet. If there was an instance where, an example, that building, if you were adding a 500 square feet or more to that building, then that area up front is not considered parking space. We'd leave an area for sidewalk, and then yes, they would take up the pavement and put in landscaping, or as a more practical application, perhaps put in landscaping within pots. That meets the same intent.
See, I think, I would like to make a motion to amend that this does not apply to areas where there is concrete or paving currently. I think that is not appropriate. I'd like to make a motion to amend.
State your motion for the recorder.
I'd like to make a motion to amend, I guess it would go under 8, where she said street trees are not required as determined by the senior planner in instances where there is not sufficient space in the public right-of-way or within the site due to the location of existing buildings, required parking spaces, current asphalt or concrete barriers.
Since you're adding,
Yes, current asphalt or concrete barriers, I think would be,
everyone's understand the amendment as stated. Need a
Sorry.
second for the amendment. Alderman Berry,
I'll second that.
you have a second. Any discussion on the amendment?
Mayor, my concern would just be the limited amount of new construction that we have in commercial areas. With anything that I've observed with the zoning ordinance or planning, many times it takes years to see the impact of what's inside the text, because it's only triggered, as she said, it's only triggered when there's new development or when there's a significant redevelopment of a site. And I just wonder if we would lose the intent of our landscaping ordinance if we have it so narrowly defined that only new construction would have to improve their site. I think that those who have completed new construction and have met the requirement and achieved
Point of
that
order.
aesthetic look probably want
Point of
the
order.
value. I would love to be able to finish my sentence.
What is your point?
we are the elected officials. She is the city administrator. While we have taken into consideration this, it is our job to do the discussion, not hers.
I will allow Ms. Moody to continue.
Thank you. I am simply advising the board of my professional opinion, which I believe you've hired me to provide you. I just want you to take into consideration what the intent of the landscaping ordinance is, what value it's providing for the public, for our community, and are you looking at it too narrowly if existing businesses do not ever have to change? That's my question.
Okay, thank you.
For you.
And then, before
Yes.
you go, any further discussion, Alderman Dunn?
Absolutely. I think if we look at the comprehensive plan and what a lot of people, our community has said, they've been very interested in beautifying both North Jackson and Lincoln Street. These are places where landscaping would be necessary if we're going to do what it is that our community has asked us to do.
Alderman Berry? Alderman Berry, you're next.
Just to,
To the amendment.
I support it.
Alderman?
Here's what I would like the board to consider. Many of these, the intent really is, the way I see it, for new development and major renovations. You are going to put a strain on individuals now who may not otherwise could afford. Okay, let me give you an example. I pulled up a 12 by 12 concrete pad the other day, and it cost us $2,400 to do that. A 12 by 12 section. It is very costly to remove asphalt and concrete to put in trees. Not to mention, as those trees grow, the damage to the roadways and to the other concrete and areas of pavement will then be considered on that person as it goes into their parking lot. This ought to be up to the individuals who own these properties right now, because it is their pocketbook that you're trying to mandate, and that's just not okay with me.
We're still talking about the amendment, and that's what we're talking about. Alderman Berry?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a comment on I do agree with Alderman Allmacher on if somebody's building a 500 square foot addition, they're growing their property, they're increasing our property taxes. These days, that 500 square foot addition could cost a lot of money. And then asking them, hey, because you're investing in your business and investing in the community, because you made that decision, we're going to need you to pull up the concrete in front of your building and put some trees. That's my biggest concern. I'd be okay with maybe saying you need to put some flower pots outside, I'm not okay with that either. But if that's the decision between the two, we can't ask people to take that expense on.
Alderman McGee.
Didn't you say they could put like potted plants? Isn't that an option?
Yes, the board could further amend this to allow that as an option.
Further amendment.
Alderman Blackwell.
I'd like to ask Mary, in her professional opinion, is this industry standard across the board at this point? I feel like over the last reading and now this reading, we're almost making it even, I feel like we're losing the intent of this ordinance. And I wanted to get from Mary, Ms. Samaniego, if she thinks this is actually what most cities are doing and requiring of our size. I think I asked this the last time because I feel like we keep walking it back every time. And we do here is that our community, we would like for our community to be green.
Thank you, Alderman. Yes, my professional opinion on jurisdictions similar in size and scope, usually landscaping requirements are applicable to new construction, major construction over a certain percentage or a certain square footage, and changes of use usually require compliance with the landscaping, because in a lot of jurisdictions, landscaping and landscaping buffers are from one use to another. So if you had a house next to a house, and then that house, the first house was on commercial, and they put a restaurant in that location, in the existing house, or a small restaurant, that would be a change of use, and that would require landscape buffering to protect the existing house. So in most jurisdictions, small towns, large cities, landscaping requirements usually become applicable for change of use, new construction, and major renovation. Again, along the same thoughts as if you don't have a certain triggers in place, you never get to implement the actual code. If there's not a trigger in place for when sites have to meet the landscaping code, and they just keep turning over and turning over and turning over year after year every year, you never get your landscaping code implemented unless the other half is that the government or a grant or some entity would come in and do the entire corridor at once to a large expense.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Yes. I would like to, again, remember the role of government should never be to mandate, force, cost individuals money, businesses. We should incentivize and regulate only that which is necessary. Otherwise, we need to create programs and incentivizations. And I love the awards, the tree awards and things like that. I think those are fantastic. However, this is over-regulatory, and you could potentially prohibit somebody from improving their property because this would trigger it. And I feel like that's what will set Tullahoma backwards.
Okay, the amendment is to add further exemption to the landscaping if there is existing pavement, concrete, or asphalt, to make that an exemption from existing.
I would just like to speak that this is not over-regulatory. Our professional here has just stated that this is standard. So I just want to clear that up.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Alderman Blanks.
I don't think it's clear.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, the amendment is to add to the existing exemptions, existing sidewalks or pavement would not be required to be removed. So green for yes on the amendment, red for no on the amendment. That amendment passes 5-2. We go back to the original motion to approve the ordinance as written without the amendment. The amendment was to not include requirement for landscaping where there was existing pavement or landscape or asphalt.
Right.
That was the amendment.
We added that into that. It says, so it would be an exception given, do due to the location of existing buildings, required parking spaces, asphalt, or concrete. So those are the exceptions, so it was passed.
We added the exceptions.
Yes.
And the exception passed. Now we're back to the original motion as amended.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And the original motion as amended passes 6-1. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mayor, point of order. When is the
What's the
comment,
point?
what's the comments to the citizens? When are they, when is comments from the citizens on our agenda? I just see people sitting here and I don't want to.
I just skipped it. I'm perfectly willing to acknowledge my mistake.
Sorry, that's why I was
And
calling
go
back.
back, after we approve the agenda, there is the section for comments from citizens. And I apologize to any citizen who had a comment to make. If I've overlooked you, if you're in the audience and would like to address the board, you're certainly welcome to do so at this time. Thank you, Alderman.
You're
Black.
welcome.
Seeing none? Seeing none, we'll move back.
You're welcome.
You know, I like to talk.
I know.
Okay, we're down to, there's no other unfinished business. We'll move into new business. New business item number 2269, to accept and adopt the bylaws of the Arts Council of Tullahoma, presented by the members of the Arts Council of Tullahoma. That's on page 40 of your agenda packet. Get a motion.
Move to approve.
Moved from Alderman Blanks and seconded by Barry. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will vote green for yes and red for no.
Well done to Mr. Wilkins. Good job on this.
Motion passes 7. Item passes 7-0. We will now go to resolution number 1898, a resolution to adopt a spend plan for the American Rescue Plan Act funds for the fiscal year 22 through 2026 for the city of Tullahoma. Get a motion.
Move to approve.
Moved from Alderman Blanks and seconded by Blackwell. And I'll ask Ms. Moody for a background on that.
Well, as you know, we've had several study sessions, a public hearing now, and this would be the final step for you to pass a resolution of support for how we would like to spend the American Rescue Plan dollars, and then we'll move forward as a city staff.
And those details are on page 48 of your agenda packet. Any discussion? Alderman Berry.
I have an amendment, I wrote it down. I would like motion to substitute the motion on the floor by striking item number 2A, the street sweeper for $300,000 from Exhibit A, this American Rescue Plan projects list, and substituting item 9 with partial funding investment for Tullahoma Utility Authority wastewater expansion project in the amount of $650,000.
Those are two amendments,
It's a
correct?
substitution.
Substitution, but you're substituting A, and then you,
I'm striking A and substituting item 9.
okay, that's two different motions. First it's a strike.
With substitution, you'd have to get rid of one and
Here's for the
do another.
Is that what you were doing?
Let me be sure I understand.
That's what you wanted to do?
You want to strike 2A, street sweeper, and you want to add,
And replace number 9 with, I don't have my copy.
You gave it
I think you said 650.
So he's needing both amounts for the funding, the amount, total amounts of funding, I
Yeah.
think is what it.
Where was the other one?
Okay, so
and that's for stormwater,
For the TUA
the
wastewater.
wastewater.
Would it be more clear to say remove item 2A and 9?
Yeah.
And
Oh.
you're seeking 350,000,
650.
or I'm sorry, 650,000 for
Yes, yeah.
contribution to
It
TUA?
made sense in my head.
Okay.
Right.
And after, if there's a second, I'd like to explain.
Striking 2A, striking 9, but adding TUA wastewater.
Investment for 650,000.
I'll second.
We need to vote on those in three different.
Since it's a substitution, I wouldn't.
A substitution is the whole thing. He's not-
Okay.
there are three different ways to amend. You're striking one, striking two, and then you're adding.
Okay.
We got to vote first, don't
We can do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. First, we do have a motion on the floor and a second.
Who
Then we
made the
have an
second?
amendment. We
Sorry.
have actually 3 amendments then.
May we have discussion now?
we? Second. Alderman.
Yeah, I have
Alderman
second
on.
and discussion.
On that
Just-
one.
Okay, we're going to take the, you want to take discussion on the First Amendment. We'll call the amendment number 1, is this to delete the street sweeper.
Since I'm in the motion,
That's your motion. That's your amendment to the motion. And the First Amendment to the motion.
First, street sweeper only. So they all kind of go together. When I first saw the 5.8 million, I didn't see it as money to just kind of spend. I immediately thought, how can we take 5.8 million and turn that into 10 million in 5 years and 20 million in 15 years versus just spending? The street sweeper, I understand the desire, but you take a typical street sweeper, it's $300,000 the first year, you've got to pay somebody to sit inside it. So however much that personnel costs is 35, even if he's split somewhere else, it's that time, you've got to pay for fuel. These things cost about $12 to $16 per curb mile. When you look at the studies, the impact on actual drainage, stormwater drainage, is negligible. Where they do have an impact is on the pollution on the streets, but in order to get that desired effect, you need to run it a minimum of 2 passes per week per street. And if we're doing that in a 5-year period, you're looking that, what's 300,000 on a piece of paper today, in 5 years is cost us 600,000, and in 10 years it's cost us $1.2 million. And it all makes sense, putting it all together. But investing it, striking that to invest, put that money into a bigger investment instead of spending $1.2 million over a 10-year period of time, we can look at gaining $6 million. And if we want to buy a street sweeper, then we have the money to do that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and you brought the discussion first. You have further discussion.
I'm open to finding money for the improvements for TUA, and I was looking at this in general. That is not one of the ones, though, that I wanted to pull first. I think that the stormwater issues, and I would love for Mr. Taylor or Ms. Moody to comment on this. This was specifically put in here because what we hear is stormwater is an issue, and that the street sweeper will help us. If that is incorrect, then I'd like to know that, but that is why I think it's important. That is the number one thing we hear from our citizens, is that stormwater, stormwater, stormwater. So the first place to cut from, I don't feel like, is our stormwater projects. It can be someplace else.
Any further discussion?
And that was a question, though, to our, if that's allowed, to Mr. Taylor and Ms. Moody regarding the efficacy of a street sweeper in this situation.
Ms. Moody, would you care to have Mr. Taylor address that issue?
I'd be happy to. Both aldermen are making very good points. I think that it is one of the most frequently heard complaints that I've had serving as your city administrator. I think that it's a combination of water quality improvement that we would get from having cleaner streets and less of that silt and rock ending up in our creek, but it's also safety You know, it's a safer place for bicycles when there aren't these rocks and everything on the street or litter. It's a cleaner aesthetic for our community. It looks better. It'd be something that we could certainly use in our downtown to clean up more effectively before and after events. So it has all of those benefits and addresses something that citizens are asking for and businesses are asking for. But Alderman Berry is also correct. When we purchase a piece of equipment, it's not just that cost. He is correct. I'm already thinking about, and Mr. Taylor and I have had discussions about how long before we would have to add another position for a driver. How will we meet the expectation of our citizens? Because how frequently are we going to be able to use it compared with what their expectation for how frequently we should use it? So it's very well said. Citizens have also, in their public comments to me, been very concerned about how these projects may impact their future tax rate. So we do have to look forward at how some of these things are going to grow the operating budget of the city. I don't know that that helped, but I think that you're having the right discussion.
Further discussion, Alderman Allmark.
I think that striking the street sweeper is a good idea because I think there maybe is another way to have that done and maybe cheaper in the long run is if we outsource that and maybe at the times that.
That's what we do now.
Yeah, maybe we just increase that, the number of times that we are having somebody come in and sweep, and then we don't have the costs of the labor or the employees. We don't have the costs of the maintenance of the vehicle. We don't have the cost of buying a new street sweeper every so many years. And maybe we just kind of go back to the drawing board on that in our regular budget, but not necessarily out of these funds. But I agree with both of you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Alderman Dunn.
Absolutely. I believe that all of this money needs to stay exactly where it is. I know TUA received a forgiveness payment in lieu of taxes a few years ago. It was, I think, in 2018. I was the only person on the board who voted no on that. They saved several hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of paying the city what was owed to us. They have their own budget. They have their own budget. It's not up to the citizens of Tullahoma to pay for their costs.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Alderman Blanks.
One other thing, I sit on the TUA board. One of the things when they separated from the city, specifically they asked where they could float bonds to pay for things like this. If we do not vote for this, they still have the ability financially to take what they want to do through bond service. That was one of the things that they really wanted to do when they went to an authority. So, you know, this money, everybody, what I say is it's like the piranhas are out. You know, not only TUA wants money, Duck River wants money. You know, there's a lot of people wanting this money. And Duck River, you know, they have the ability to fund this as bond issue.
Alderman Allmark.
A bond issue would be something that would have to be paid back, and that could potentially increase rates. So, you know, if we had to choose between buying a street sweeper or funding projects that are going to increase infrastructure and future property taxes as a whole, I definitely think that we should try to do as much as we can for them, although they may have to take part of it since we're not going to fund the whole thing.
Alderman Berry.
I do agree they are an authority and they do have the rates, but I also, and that's why it's kind of tough to vote on these one by one because there's a bigger picture here and we're only supposed to be talking about the street sweeper, which regardless, I think that we take that out because I don't think that's an expense that we need. But to the TUA,
Let's try, if we can, keep the discussion to the amendment.
I'll keep it to that.
I know it's hard to do.
Either way, I think that we strike that street sweeper.
Okay, the amendment is just to strike the street sweeper is this single amendment that we're voting on currently. Alderman Blackwell.
One last thing I'm going to say on this is when I email the downtown businesses, what they say is we need a street sweeper.
I would also like to add, if I may, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Alderman Dunn.
I would also like to add that we have been paying another company to use this street sweeper since 2009, and we have more than paid for a street sweeper with funding that other company through private business. So I think that if we can do this and save our taxpayers money in the next 20 years, that's our responsibility to do so.
If no further discussion, we'll vote on the street sweeper. As an amendment.
Green to cut it, red to keep it?
Green to cut, red to keep.
Green to cut it.
Green cut.
Green
Green
to
to
cut
cut,
it.
red to keep.
All right.
Red to cut it.
No.
Excuse me. Green to cut it, red to keep it.
All right.
All right.
Excuse me, I misvoted.
Okay, all right, so here we go.
You reset it?
I reset it.
We're gonna restate it. Green to cut it, red to keep it.
Okay.
4 to keep it, 3 to cut it.
Wait. So it stays in.
It stays
It
in.
Stays.
Now you go to your second concern.
It's hard to treat these one at a time because they are so related. The second one was to delete the new residential garbage truck. That was your second amendment.
That was similar to the first. I think that we do need, I think we probably need several new garbage trucks, but we have a capital plan coming up, and I think that that's something that we can look at getting new trucks. A truck gets about 3 to 5 miles per gallon, about $160 a day in fuel, so that $350,000 truck, you add in somebody to drive that, it's about $175,000, $35,000 a year. 5-year fuel cost at $220,000, so you're looking at that $300,000 truck in 5 years costs you $752,000, then 10-year cost is $1.5 million roughly, where I believe that we can take that money and invest it into, we just heard here that one of our biggest, also in the Tullahoma 2040 plan, is houses and places to live.
Alderman Berry, let me ask that we get an amendment on the floor, and we'll get a second, and then we'll have the discussion.
Oh, that was the first, oh, sorry.
No, I was second.
I'll second
Sorry.
Yeah,
We got your motion on the floor. Now we got a second.
yeah.
Now then, continue
Sorry, I
with your
thought we did.
discussion,
I
sir.
apologize. So similar here, that $300,000, $350,000 now, we can take that and invest that money into the TUA projects, and understanding that they are ratepayers, the money better used there. It's an investment from the city. It's not asking, this isn't city taxpayer money. This is not funding these projects also negates any ability for them to do any of the future TDEC money, which wastewater is a big infrastructure.
Any further discussion on cutting the garbage truck?
Yes, so this is kind of something I've talked about 2 years ago when I first got elected, almost 2 years ago, is for the same reasons as I said something about the street sweeper. We don't realize over time, these garbage trucks cost a lot of money to maintain, they cost a lot of money to replace, and it costs a lot of money to employ people and have them put in those positions. So over time, I do believe that outsourcing it is much cheaper. And this is even something that I would consider looking at what it would potentially cost us to outsource our garbage routes because of the long-term maintenance and employees and labor costs. So for much the same reason, whereas we can't really outsource our stormwater our stormwater drainage or our sewer projects or things like that, those are investments back in the city. And because TDEC, I believe that they are trying to emphasize using this money not towards things that you have to constantly replace. I think that TDEC is incentivizing by them matching it for us to spend this money on infrastructure. A new garbage truck is not infrastructure.
Alderman Blackwell.
I'm open to this. I had two questions, Mayor, that I'd like to ask if possible from probably Ms. Wilson and Mr. Taylor or Ms. Moody, if that's okay. But my two questions is, to Alderman Berry's point, if we think we can absorb this into the capital plan that we're putting together is my first question. And then knowing if that's feasible, will we still be able to implement the additional route that's going to be necessary, especially if we're talking about growing the number of homes? Because that's why we put this on here, is because we know we have more homes in the area. We were trying to get ahead of it. If we are adding money towards TUA, we will be anticipating even more homes. Can we get ahead of it? This is not just an either-or question, because there is a logistical issue here, and I'd love to get y'all's feedback.
Ms. Moody, would you care to address the question?
So that speaks to the comments I was raising my hand to make. Is I just wanted to clarify that although it says new residential garbage truck, I put that word new to indicate it's not a replacement of an existing truck. This truly would be a new truck for new routes, anticipating growth in the community and the need for a new route. It is something that we would need to buy, whether or not it's in this plan with rescue plan dollars or not. It is something that we could put into the capital plan. What I think would happen is that it may push off that purchase 2 years, because I think that the city, we have to be responsible and spend down this money in the time frame. It may be extended, and so things could change, but the timeline that's been provided today, we will have to work to spend this money within the deadlines. And then also just looking at our debt service, and strategically, the city does not have a large amount of debt rolling off for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't anticipate a new borrowing for 2 years.
Do we think then that other second part of the question that did not get answered, I don't think?
I'm sorry, what was the second part?
The second, so if we are implementing it 2 years later, though, does that mean do you anticipate the growth moving faster than that?
That's really hard to answer.
I know, but
I mean, we have a lot of platted lots, we have a lot of interest in development, but trying to guess when they're going to actually go under construction is difficult.
Mayor?
Alderman Dunn.
I think it's really important to remember what our responsibilities are in these projects, and sewer is not one of our responsibilities, but we do have to provide garbage service to all of our citizens. Now, I think we wouldn't have to look far. Manchester is experiencing a lot of troubles with privatized garbage pickup and rate increases that they have absolutely no control over. There's no board for waste management. They decide because they're a business. So there are people who are at the mercy of just whatever those people want to do. They don't have a board of mayor and aldermen to answer to as far as waste management is concerned.
Alderman Hallmacher, you got your hand up.
So, while I'm never okay with taking away a service that we currently provide, obviously that's where contracts come in, and you can limit in your negotiation of the contracts if we were to ever outsource. But if outsourcing is even a possibility, I don't think it would be wise to spend money on a new residential garbage truck for a new route before we even need it, when we know that for that new development to happen, one of the things that the developers are waiting on is sewer. So let's not put the cart before the horse.
Mayor,
Mayor,
we do know that it's needed. I can just name one, Anderson Farm Development. That one development is its own garbage route. So just that single residential development will cause us to need a new garbage route. So it's just a matter of when. You know, she asked me, can we wait 2 years? Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Right now, we push our garbage trucks to about an average of 900 picks a day. That's 900 times that arm is picking up a garbage cart. They're built for about 400. And we keep trucks well over 20 years. So it's definitely a need. I also just want to say one thing. I don't think that it's feasible to outsource garbage service. I don't want to go into a lengthy conversation about this, but think about currently our residential garbage service. Our citizens do not see a bill for that service. It is provided as a part of their property tax. And as I mentioned to you tonight, we have not increased property taxes except for 2 times since 1987. Tell me a garbage bill isn't going to increase every year. Second, we are a government. We're providing a service, and we don't do it for profit. We do it at cost. We subsidize our solid waste fund out of the general fund, so that's how we keep the rates low for our commercial customers who do pay a bill. They don't have to choose us. They choose us because our bill is less and our service is better. We give them the option of how many days a week they want to be picked up. We make special pickups, and I'd like to think our people provide a better level of customer service and responsiveness than most private companies. And then last, I would just add that there are a lot of services that our residents get in addition to that garbage. We pick up recycling every week. That typically private haulers are not going to pick it up weekly from Tullahoma. We also pick up brush. We pick up bulky items. So those are services that a Waste Management, a Republic, they're not going to provide. So we would not be able to save the labor costs, in my opinion, or some of the equipment costs, because our citizens would still want brush collected, still want recycling, still want it with the convenience that we offer today.
Alderman Barry, you had your hand up first.
That went a lot different route than I thought. I don't think we need to consider outsourcing when we're talking about this, but we do have a responsibility to our taxpayers. I agree with Alderman Dunn on that, and part of that is ensuring that we are investing in things that keep their property taxes low, and the only way to do that is to expand our property tax base. And this is a cheap way to help invest and help them get more money to expand that property tax base. And I'm not saying that we need, my understanding is we probably need like 3 or 4 new trucks. Some of them are getting old, and so I'm not saying that there's not a need, but I'm saying out of this money right here, the original intent of the ARPA money was to invest into infrastructure. They focused on stormwater, wastewater, and those projects. And so I'd like to find a way to take this money and multiply that over a time span versus looking at an immediate need and trying to fill that from the kind of small, I'm not saying we have small view, but looking at the small view versus taking a step back and looking 10, 15 years down the road and what that investment makes.
Alderman Hamacher.
Yes, so I believe that the discussion for outsourcing that will have its day. That's not today. However, I very much disagree with many of the things that our city administrator just said. So with the new residential garbage truck, since we're probably going to need new garbage trucks anyways, I'm with Mr. Berry in that I don't believe that this is the appropriate place for the ARPA funds, and it is very much appropriate for us to try to increase the funding for other projects outside of garbage trucks that we can get multiplied by Tdot.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we have an amendment to delete item 9, the garbage trucks, for $350,000. No further discussion. Vote yes, green to delete, red to keep it. That passed. The red to keep it is 5-2.
Mayor, I withdraw my third
That's,
Yeah,
almost,
technically, yeah.
so I think that's, okay. The third amendment is withdrawn. Okay. Thank you all very much.
I'd like to make a motion. Can I get recognized?
Yes, what is your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to amend to, I don't know how we said this, to delete, to strike the Exhibit A, item number 4, sidewalk and greenway improvements, since those are somewhat vague.
We have a motion. Do I get a second? Seeing no second, motion fails. We'll go back to the original motion. Original motion, 1898, no amendments. I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Vote green to approve, red to disapprove. That passes 6-1. Resolution number 1899. A resolution naming the greenway along Rock Creek corridor for former mayor and first lady, Lane and Evelyn Curley, in recognition of their distinguished service and years of service in Tullahoma. At this time,
Move to approve.
Second.
we have a motion to
darn it.
approve and a second. Okay, we're not going to vote on that just yet. First, we're going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Blanks, who is the longest-serving alderman that served with Mayor Curley longer than anyone else. I'd like to ask Alderman Blanks to read the resolution.
Thank you. Resolution number 1899. Whereas the city of Tullahoma, Tennessee recognizes the contributions of former Mayor Lane Curley and First Lady Evelyn Curley for their decades of years of service to Tullahoma as community leaders and volunteers, and whereas Lane Curley is the longest-serving mayor in Tullahoma's history, served a total of 18 years as mayor, Lane Curley being first elected in August 1993, re-elected for 2 additional terms in 1996 and 1999, then elected his 4th term in 2011, serving through August 2020. And whereas Evelyn Curley, being the First Lady for those 18 years, was a supporting force along Lane's side while being an exemplary volunteer in our community. And whereas Mayor Curley led our community with solid leadership and thoughtful guidance for his fellow citizens, serving with enthusiasm, encouragement, and concern for all. And whereas his tireless efforts on behalf of the city of Tullahoma played a significant role in numerous civic developments, including improvements to the city's Grider Stadium, historic preservation initiatives, enhancement of the South Jackson Civic Center, construction of the Johnson Lane Sports Complex, Splash Island, Sunrise Diff Golf Course, a new park in East Tullahoma, a much-needed dog park at Wagner Park, and the city's greenway system of trails. And whereas a few of the many significant initiatives launched by Mayor Curley include the Clean Up Tullahoma program, Tullahoma Go Green, Tullahoma Arts Council, Tullahoma Tourism Council, Tullahoma Get Fit, and an entrepreneurship initiative. And whereas Evelyn Curley has served our community as a volunteer, being instrumental in the Hot Meals program that provided meals to struggling families on Wednesdays, serving approximately 200 meals each week to single mothers, low-income seniors, unemployed, and homeless. She worked with the local community advisory board where volunteers worked hand in hand with the local Department of Children's Services to help meet the needs of the abandoned, neglected, and foster children in Coffee County, and was recognized for her efforts in 2013 as the Governor's Volunteer Stars Award recipient. And Whereas Mayor Lane Curley and First Lady Evelyn Curley have been exemplary in their leadership and volunteerism while encouraging all to be their best person every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Tullahoma as follows. Section 1, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, the public welfare requiring it, this 9th day of May 2020, that Section 2, the Tullahoma Greenway systems of trails are designated the Mayor Lane Curley and Evelyn Curley Greenway Trail in recognition of two outstanding Tullahoma citizens who have exemplified community leadership and the true spirit of volunteerism. City of Tullahoma, Ray L. Noas, Mayor.
Now in keeping with Robert's Rules of Order, we're going to vote on that now.
So, Blanks made the motion.
I made the motion.
We have a motion and a second. And there will be no further discussion. Vote green for yes and red for no.
And we will all vote again. Sorry. Okay, like it's going to make a difference.
Motion passes 4-3.
All right.
Alderman Blanks, I'd like you to join me at the flag. I'd like former Mayor Lane Curley and First Lady Ellen to join me at the flag.
You said 43. I thought my eyes were crossed. Poor Rosemary. So you made the second that. I did not see that. Thank you.
Where do you want? Which of the problems?
Oh, you guys are so tall.
Well,
This is just a plan. So no study session tonight.
Say that again?
Mayor Curley, in keeping with your past practice, when your name is called, you're welcome to take the podium and along with First Lady.
So thank you very much for those kind words. I appreciate it. When, and to the Board Mayor and Alderman, when Dr. Blanks called me a couple of weeks ago and invited me to this meeting, we were pleased to be here, of course, but I want to share with you a little bit about what else transpired during that phone call. His first suggestion was to name the wastewater treatment plant after me because he said, you are full, I wrote it down. He said, you are full of bad ideas and good intentions. And he said, no, I don't like that idea. Let's name something else. He said, the second longest serving mayor, Dr. Jack Fair School is named after him. So the longest serving mayor should have another elementary school. And so he did a little, I didn't know this, but he did a little research. And he said, we would consider naming Bel Air School after you, but it turns out, he said, there was an incident when you were in the second grade regarding a Mrs. Miller and a spit wad. So he said, we can't do that. And then he said, you know what? People have been walking over you because of your poor leadership for years. So let's just name the Greenway after you, since people have been walking on you anyway. So, and I said, that's fine, but I do have a question. He did say that I had to maintain the Greenway with mowing and any paving work that had to be done. So, is that true? I don't know.
Sidewalk, you're clear now.
Yeah, so I need some clarification before I can really accept this. Dr. Blanks?
I think that we could probably help you with that a little bit.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then, Evelyn, I really do appreciate this. It's very kind of y'all, and it really is an honor, and I do appreciate it. Thank you.
First Lady Evelyn, the microphone is yours.
I'm just going to say it was a true honor to serve alongside Lane. Thank you.
You both served very well. We'll be doing some signage and things like that and putting up some plaques. And that we'll continue this discussion then and have you back. Congratulations. Okay, moving on. Resolution number 1900, resolution to support the Cdbg grant for expansion of the child care expansion program. That is on page 50 of your packet. Do I get a motion on the floor?
Mayor, point of order, really fast. I think I'm not allowed, I'm not going to be able to vote on this, and I don't know if this needs to be said here. I'm on the board of the Tullahoma Daycare Center, which I know has applied for it. So because of that, I will not be able to vote on this. I always try to recuse myself. So,
motion.
I will need to recuse myself as well.
I got a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second, motion from Barry, seconded by Blanks. Any discussion on this? This is the city is acting as a conduit for the funding of this grant to these recipients. Green for yes and red for no. Passes 5-0. 5-0. Okay, thank you. No other new business? We do have some new business. Yes, we have.
That's right.
Agenda item number 2270, that's on your table. It's the increase of paving budget for Cedar Lane. Ms. Moody, would you care to give us a background on that?
Yes, I appreciate your consideration.
First, we'll get a motion and
Oh, I'm
second.
sorry.
Motion by Barry, second by McGee. Now you can give the background.
You'll recall in February, this board gave approval to use our governor's local support grant money in approximately $229,000 to support paving Cedar Lane. And at that time, we didn't know how far that specific amount of money would go. We also the weather conditions weren't right for paving in February. So now we're bringing you a request to increase the budget. I think that in meeting with Mrs. Wilson, the simplest way would be for you to appropriate from city reserves to this project, and then we hope that as we get closer to year end and we bring you that year end budget amendment, that sales tax will actually be able to be used without a use of reserves to fund this. But this will allow the roadway segments that you see listed there to repair the worst sections of Cedar Lane.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there some discussion? If I may, I would like to ask a question. This looks like we're going to be doing segmented paving on Cedar Lane. Paving from Cedar Lane to West Lincoln, and then from Cedar Lane on to Wilson Avenue, and then from south to NHC up to William Northern Boulevard. So there's going to be some discontinuity. There's going to be, as many of you will have recognized when you pass over those segmented pavement areas, there's a bump. And that is the very first area to deteriorate. So if we pave this in segments, the perception of people traveling over Cedar Lane is that still got bumps. And it's still gonna be deteriorating more rapidly than it would if it were paved continuously. So my question to city administrator and to public works superintendent is, how much does it take to do a continuous pave? And what we're talking about is adding to this budget enough to pave from Rock Creek to just south of NHC, which is approximately half a mile or so. Could I ask that question?
Mr. Taylor, do you want to come forward?
I have
Briefly talked about this just before
This is
the
not a
meeting.
cold call to our city administrator or to Public Works Director, because I've suggested that this question would be asked.
Okay.
There are variables there. If you factor in just an overlay, that's one thing. If you factor in the milling and the striping, and I don't know what that dimension is, it may be closer to 3,000 feet, plus or minus, a little bit in that area. The section that we just added from NHC to William Northern was somewhere around 140-ish. Of course, I won't know exact till the numbers go down. I try to, when I estimate and I get with the paving contractor, I try to factor everything in I can. The only thing I would say is, if we don't do something and we don't pick up this, it's gonna cost us more. Every month for the last several months, the bituminous index, which our contract is based on, is jumped significantly. Like today, yesterday, gas was $3.96. Today, it's $4.15. That bituminous index is an oil product, it's a petroleum product, and that number is gonna continue to climb. So without me having an actual number to give you, I would say we're somewhere around the 100, 140. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and give you a number and I can't make that happen, but it's somewhere in that ballpark.
But you do agree that if we wait, the cost to do it later is only going to go up?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The other thing, if we wait and do it in segments, the cost to the contractor to do this is going to increase because he's got to move his equipment off-site, subsequently move it back on. So the least expensive way to get Cedar Lane paved on a continuous strip is to do it now.
I agree. I mean, that, if I had my say, you guys make those decisions on the dollars and cents. We tried to do this probably about 3 years ago, somewhere in that time frame, and that cost has significantly gone up, and it's going to continue to rise until the economy or the market or whatever, slows it down. I'm concerned what June's bituminous index is going to be. I suspect it's just going to jump again, and that number's just going to continue to increase.
Let me ask a question this way.
Sure.
Would it be in order to add to this, make a amendment to this, to add to this $150,000 to do a continuous pavement of Cedar Lane?
And let me make sure I understand, that's in addition to what Ms. Moody brought?
Well, in addition to what's here now.
40, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. I think we're in the ballpark. I believe we can do it.
I make a motion to amend $150,000 to this agenda item 2270 so that we can have a continuous.
Just trying a second. Got a second from Barry. Thank you very much. And you've already provided the background on this. We've had this pretty much discussion. Any further discussion on continuous paving of Cedar Lane?
I was seconding.
Okay.
I would say this, we'll stretch it as far as it'll go.
Thank you.
We'll do our dead level best to get as far as we can get.
Just wanted to eliminate the bumps.
And may I say one other thing that may be out of order? The bollards have been removed.
Did you get the amendment?
I just want to clarify, we're making an additional 150, so it would be 290 that we're adding. Okay, perfect. Good, I have it. That's the amendment.
Any further discussion?
We're voting on the amendment.
Vote green for the amendment, red for no. And that passes 7-0. Now then, we'll go back and
Don't we have to say where? it
vote
comes
on the
from?
original motion as amended. So first,
I do have one quick question. Do we can find that money?
So what your motion meant is that you will take 290,000 from the city's reserves to fund this
Effectively, yes.
project.
Oh, so we do that. I just wanted to make sure.
okay, we're back to the original motion. We need the original motion. We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Vote green for yes and red for no. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
Seeing no other new business, we'll adjourn the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, go directly into the beer board. Are there any public comments? Any public comments regarding the beer board? Seeing none, we'll go into the beer board. Consent agendas on the thing on the agenda, that's maybe 11 minutes of the April 25th, page 52. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion, thanks, seconded by Blackwell. Vote green for approve, red for no. And that motion passes 7-0. Look, that book, you can't read it. Okay. There being no further business on the beer board, we'll adjourn. There being no items on the study session, we're out of here by 7:30.
I know, I love it. Yeah, we did it.